Another Love is Patient session. I am so excited for the month of March. We are concentrating on blended families. And this month, I'm going to actually share some of my experiences as being part of a blended family and being part of building a blended family. So I'm coming from two perspectives today. This is an opportunity, today's session is an opportunity to delve into my experience in helping to blend the blended family. Today I have two guests with me. They are in two different places. Dominique is in Baltimore, and Simone is in Windsor, Connecticut, at the Loomis Chaffee School, and they join me today to share their experiences in a blended family. This interview has two different perspectives, two different young ladies, two different ages, two different experiences. So they are sharing from their hearts today. They are sharing one from the experience of coming into a new family, a new structure of a family, and being blended. The other is coming on the scene 5 years later when the family is in the process of being blended, and she will give an account of her perspective as not knowing exactly what's going on. Stay tuned as these two ladies share their experiences with you, glean from them, learn about it, be a part of this blending process. If you are in the process of blending your family and you have some experience with a blended family, I'm sure something said or done today is going to help you. Stay tuned. Good
Hi,
morning. Good
ladies.
morning.
Hey,
Thank you for
Mom.
joining on number 12.
I have Dominique and Simone with me this morning on Love is Asian. So happy to have them with me this morning. We have an empty nest, but so glad that Zoom can bring us together this morning just to talk a little bit about our family. Our family, you guys. Um, actually didn't even know we had what they call now a blended family. Our family was just our family, right? Yeah. The way we started out, for those of you who may not be aware, the way that we started out was that I got married in '97, but I met Dominique in '95 when I first moved to Connecticut. She was the cutest little lady that I've ever seen, and the personality was the part that really captured me. We talked a little bit last week about our connection, and after me and Kevin got married in '97, not too long after, Dominique came to live with us. So she was actually my first chance at motherhood, at being a mother. Dominique made me a mom. So I often say it was love at first sight. Um, when she got to know me, we just meshed together. It was unbelievable how this little girl could steal my heart like she did. And the feeling was definitely mutual. That's why I say it was love at first sight. She clung to me, and I clung to her, and our family began with Dominique. So we went, and after that, the boys came. I remember way back when I was expecting Jim the third, she was so excited about having another brother because she had already had a brother. So She was excited about having another brother. I remember she was about the first grade. She'd come home, we do homework together. So she would actually read to Kenneth while she was in utero. So we would read together, and so when Kenneth came, he knew nothing different. Nothing different. Shaka came, he knew nothing different. So our family began with Dominique, had the two boys. They couldn't be here tonight. I wanted them to come on too, but they couldn't be here. We'll have another session with the guys also. And certainly when Simone came, she knew no different. All she knew is she had a big sister and two brothers. On the flip side of that, Dominique was so excited to finally have a sister. She had two brothers on her mother's side, two brothers on her father's side, and she finally had a sister. She was so excited. I think you were about 12 or 13. So excited to have a sister, and her dream came true when Simone was there. So here we have Simone and Dominique. They are how many years apart? 12. Yeah, we were 12 when she was born. 12 years apart. So, Dominique, give us just a little bit about your side of the blended family. I know it's a lot. It's a lot to it. It's a lot to it, I know.
Well, since we're talking of siblings, I think it's always been so great having like two different sides because they're both exposed completely different, but yet their hearts are both very pure in the same nature. So it's just interesting to watch how two different set of siblings can be raised completely different, but yet still show the same compassion when presented with certain opportunities to, defend each other or,
Mhm.
fight each other, but no one else can pick on them type of thing. So just watching how that dynamic never changes is very consistent across the table is really awesome. I think that ties into effect to having being able to properly co-parent because mending those relationships can tend to be difficult, especially nowadays. I watch some siblings don't know their other side, so having that open communication was definitely essential in utilizing healthy relationships with both sides for my siblings' sake.
Simone, I want you to just express how you feel about your family. Um, express how you felt uh, as a young lady, having an older sister and two older brothers. And then I want you to talk just a little bit about when you found out what this blended family was all about.
Yeah, so before I found out, it was just like, oh my gosh, I'm in a house with three older siblings. We're having fun, we're laughing, we're joking, we're cooking. Everything was all fun and games. Everything was always so great. We go to church together, cut up on the second row. We'd be in the house, kicking each other under the table during dinner. It was always great. And then one day I found out, it was like, someone was like, that's not your sister. That's your stepsister. And I went home and I was like, Mom, what? And that was the first time that I was confronted with the idea of a blended family because we were always so close. Like we don't speak step, half, anything between. We don't speak that in our house. So when someone came up to me with that information, I was like, Mom, what does this mean? Like, what's going on? But even after that, nothing changed. We continued to do everything that we did before I found out, and I feel like our relationship has become even stronger throughout the years. I know Nick and I call each other every day, so for like hours when we should be working and doing things that are productive, not shopping as much online, but we do all of those things and more. So I don't know. There was no change for me. It was just me being informed. But as far as our behaviors, how we interact with each other, our love for each other, if anything, it has grown even stronger. We've become even closer. with the new title, blended family, or however we put it.
Thank you. I just wanted you guys to kind of give a testimony of what it was like uh, growing up in a blended family. Both of you have very different perspectives. Because Dominique came in, she was the first to, she's the oldest, so she's seen everything. You missed the first 12 years, Simone. So that first 12 years um, was where most of the blending happened. But I wanted you to come on just to kind of give an attest of, uh, I guess, the success of the blended family. As the youngest child, you didn't even know what was going on. So prior to that, we blended that thing up till, it's consistent. All the chunks are out. The residue on the bottom is all mixed in because you guys are 12 years. Uh, you're 12 years apart. However, you're acting like you're 2 or 3 years apart, and I think that is kind of a testimony to the work that was put in the earlier years to make it um, like it is today. Dominique, I just want to go back just a little bit, and we're going to have boys come on at another time. We're closed right now, but another time we have them to come on. Can you just give just a little bit? We talked a little bit last week. I don't know if you were able to see the interview that me and your dad did, just about some of the things that our family did go through. Most of the things that were mentioned, most of the incidents mentioned that were termed as challenges or difficult times were from outsiders. We were working on our family bonding. We were working on transitioning. That's a big piece. How do you transition between two houses? You spend time with your mom, you spend time with your dad. It's a different situation in both houses. It could be difficult, I know, because coming from the situation that I come from, I know that it can be a little difficult going between houses, spending time with your mom, spending time with your dad, and visiting in your mind the situation of, wow, shouldn't my mom and dad be together? You know what I'm saying? So, can you speak to the early part of transitioning between houses? Can you speak to that in terms of what you might say to another blended family that's just going through the process of making their children try to feel comfortable in both houses? You know, uh, what you have to do sometimes to kind of fit in at your dad's house, to kind of fit in your mom's environment, having been at your dad's house, going back and forth. Uh, and anything that you want to mention about that experience that you think would help a blended family, a young lady that might be in the same situation that you were in, or a young man that may be in the same situation that you were in.
So I think it has a lot to do with open communication, and I wasn't certain if it's because you already had your own background with a blended family that you were more open and understanding to hearing how I felt and not being offended by it. So we were able to connect on that level. So that played a huge part, like that connection piece,
Mm-hmm.
and allowing me to feel like I can be vulnerable and say what I mean in a respectable way, and then we're able to dissect it and talk about it. And it was a few years ago that I felt we really broke that, barrier and started talking more about how I just took everything in at that young age. And I told you how, I would feel offended, like this woman is coming in and stealing my man. Like, this is my man. I had him to myself. Where is she from? Like, and it was just taboo. Like, the time had to be split, and then more children came. And it's like, I had to keep breaking down this solid piece of him that I've always had. And now I had to share him. And it was just like a lot for a child. And with blended family leaves being just recently, brought about and being talked about and conversed upon amongst like therapists and stuff, um, I see how hard it can be, to the fact that you need a therapist to help, build it up and make it a good foundation and everything like that. But the fact that we were able to do so without all the extra stuff, like that's just a testament in itself. But then it was in psychology class that I was able to further understand why I even felt that way. So they were explaining how most young women who do or don't have a relationship with their dad, they cling to that man that is that constant in their life, and they mentally really think that's their man. That's your first experience with true love. So you're stealing my husband in my head. So that plays a part, and that doesn't even have to do with the fact that you weren't my natural mother, because they were explaining it that it has nothing to do with that dynamic at all. It's everything to do with the relationship with that young lady and her father or her father figure. And it just made so much sense. Like, nothing was wrong with me. That's actually natural. Because Ken is like that with you. And as we see with Keith and Khalil with me. So it's definitely a nature thing that comes about that most young women wouldn't even be able to realize and identify if they aren't able to, discuss it. So having that dialect with you, that dialogue with you, was very helpful in, just relieving that stress and not feeling like I've done something wrong emotionally. It's a natural thing. And then you talked me through how, it's natural for a young woman to want and expect her parents to be together, but that doesn't mean that anything's wrong with you. I wanted my mom and dad to work out, but you grow up and you realize that just wasn't meant to be, and it's okay. And that opened the door for further discussion about how I held on to that, and it made me hold on to relationships much longer than I needed to, because I always felt like, if I let this go, what if he's the one? And then my kids, are walking around feeling that way. But I was able to, step in the shoes of my own parents and realize, just because you love someone, that doesn't make it enough to make it work for a forever thing. You guys are celebrating 24 years this past weekend. Just like, that's not common a lot nowadays. Many people are so eager and rushing for divorce, and it's just like they're not in it for the long haul. And just being able to watch you guys and how your marriage has grown, and it's grown our own family. So, of course, we would have wanted things to have been differently, so that, it was just an easier transition, but nothing is perfect. So I feel like what worked for our family just really worked, and it was just simply by grace.
Vibrance, yes. Um, I think that one of the most important, you said a mouthful there, but one of the most important things that you said, um, very natural thing for a young lady to believe, is that her dad is her man. and and that's very true. It is your first man, the first man that you come in contact with, that you're able to trust, that you're able to glean from, that you have a relationship with your first man. And I think it was very noble of you to actually share the first man with this woman that you hardly knew in very plain terms. As a young girl at 6 years old, doing this. So I think that young ladies, teenage ladies, even older women that come in contact with the same type of issue, you know, I think they have to realize it, like you said, it's natural. It's very natural. But then you have to come into what's real. And I think that's where you really had to park right there and we really had to hash through the reality of the situation was. And I think that it is very important for someone, you mentioned therapy, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. As a matter of fact, so I think that we should have been in therapy, all of us, because when we hash through and we look back at all that our family had been through and all the pressures that came along with um, the purpose of our family to minister to others, to be an example, and to be used of God, and all of those things, along with um, working in our various capacities, our careers, and educating our children, and everything that came with that, along with a blended. We could have moved from therapy. And I just want to put that plug in there. As you mentioned it, we made it without therapy, but I don't think there's anything wrong with actually being assisted. Um, and to have a professional to help you through all of what we had to deal with. Um, One thing that I do want to say is it's quite a task to find your role as a young person. That's my man. That's my dad. That's the first introduction to a man that I'll have. Um, but when somebody else comes along, or when we see that there's this family unit, I then have to define myself and be defined as a daughter. And then I have to step aside and let uh, my my mother, my mother figure, my bonus mom, as you call me, to take that place. It's a lot for a young mind to comprehend the reality of the situation, and I would speak to all blended family mothers out there that keep that in mind. That when you're blending a family, you have to keep in mind all of the many roles that a family has and the development of the children. Dominique was 6 years old, having to deal with separating um, this man that has come into her life that was larger than life for her. It was her everything in terms of her protection, her guide, her mentor, her father, just a provider, protector, all of that. And then she has to share him with a woman that has come into their lives suddenly. So uh, all of that has to be comprehended in the mind of a 6 year old, a 7 year old child. And I think to all the blended family mothers out there, you have to accommodate for that. There were many days where I had preferred Dominique and preferred her relationship as a daughter rather than my role as a wife because I believe her development was more important. I'm a full grown woman. I can sacrifice. I can sacrifice those times and allow for her to go on dates with her father, allow for her to have some alone time with this man in her life. So uh, those sacrifices have to be made in order for the child to kind of manage and balance out what manage and balance out. And in turn, uh, you will, and you have done some things and you have made some sacrifices with your daughter, I'm sure, in that same type of situation. And this circle goes round and round. And we've seen it come full circle. I've seen it come full circle actually twice. I remember being that little girl that shared my dad with my stepmom, my bonus mom, and I've witnessed in our relationship me sharing that time with you, and now I'm seeing you share that time and make some sacrifices with your daughter. So I'm telling you, this circle goes round and round, and hopefully you've seen enough where you can make those allotments for Shia. Simone, give us some closing words. I know that you've seen a lot, witnessed a lot, and may not have understood everything that was going on. But from your perspective, uh, in witnessing in witnessing our family being blended, what would you have to say to maybe a younger sibling that is involved with the blended family? You're kind of coming on the tail end. You might be the milk that's poured in into the blend, and it's pretty much blended in, but they need just a little bit more uh, liquid to make it consistent. Might be that that finishing touch, maybe on the blended family. Tell us what's on your mind as we speak about this blending.
Yeah, I would say for me, when I found out, just going back to what I was mentioning before, it's so easy to get caught in the minutia of the situation. But I think for me, it was much easier for me to just detach myself from all the details and kind of just not think too hard into it. Because at the end of the day, like, Nick is my sister, and I love her no less for her place in this blended family. And that goes for those of you who are watching. I don't think it should be a form of detachment. I don't think it should be something that you have to, grapple with. Like, there's nothing to grapple with. I love my sister. She is my sister, and there's nothing that's gonna get in the way of what we have, and what we're gonna continue to have and grow from as we, progress through our years and continue to develop our lives. So that would be my one takeaway from this. Is just don't think too hard into it. It's not worth all the energy. At the end of the day, Nick and I are like this. So y'all can't break this apart.
Right, right. It's blended.
Yeah,
like we said.
it's blended. It's blended. Oh yes. Oh yes.
Wow. What insight. I hope that you enjoyed that session as these young ladies shared their hearts with you today from their different perspectives. I just want to highlight just a couple things. That father-daughter relationship is just so important. It's so important, and it should be handled delicately, especially in that transition of coming into or going between two homes. That family dynamic should be handled very delicately. I want to keep in mind and hear her heart. Her dad, Dominique, describes her dad as her man. Okay, so we have to really deal delicately with that relationship there. We have to take time to teach the concept of sharing. Yes, it's your man, but he has other roles and responsibilities, and take time to define those roles. And adults should make the necessary sacrifices in order to accommodate for a child's maturity and development. So we have to think about those things as we allow them to express themselves. We have to make sure that our roles are established in this blended family. All right, and we have to make sure that we take our time with our young children and consider the ages of the young people involved and how we have to interact with them according to their age and their maturity. Feelings do matter, and they should be considered with all parties, with the parents, with the children, and those that are involved in the relationship. Therapy should be a great consideration. It is nothing wrong with going to a professional to help you to sift through all of this, working through your roles, working through these lessons of sharing, working through new players that come on the scene. As in my family, Dominique came to live with us, and then within 5 years, she had 3 new siblings. So, working through all of that, we certainly could have used a hand. We got through it, but we could have used a hand with that. New placement, not traditions. Well, we could also talk about different traditions that we develop and set, but we also want to talk about transitions, going from home to home. How we do things here are different. How we do things in another home are different. We have to talk about that and consider all that. And sometimes you just might need some help in doing that. Remember that after all of these things are taken care of, we can't forget that we're family. We're family. And the first thing that is most important is to love each other. And we thank God for the love that exists between Dominique and Simone, that older sibling, and that baby girl, that younger sibling. She said they're like this, they're tight. So we just thank God for that relationship that has been built. Simone says that don't get into the details, too much of the details, if there is no need to. The younger children may not even be affected by the blending process. So it might not be a big deal. She says, don't think too hard about it. You know, don't give it that energy. Just love. Just love. So we thank God for the interview today. I hope that you enjoyed the interview. And next week we're coming back with my sisters. My sisters will be here next week. So stay tuned. Remember, love is patient.